How to improve listening skills. The next day, I go to school again. One of the students has an important question. He wants to know how to improve his listening skills. He wants to improve what the best method is. Our teacher says, "Thank you for your question. Good listening skills are very important for communication. If you don't understand what people are saying, it will be difficult for you to speak with them." There are a lot of materials on the internet for students of English. Some students can have a problem to choose the right listening materials for them. Now I want to tell you what materials you can use for listening. There are two types of materials which you can use for listening. You can listen to some audio, or you can watch a film. These are two different types of material. When you listen to some audio, it is good to know 95% of the words or more. If the audio has a lot of new words, read the text first if possible and look at all new words in the dictionary. When you practice listening, you practice getting information from a spoken language. You don't try to learn new words. Of course, sometimes you can learn new words, but it is not the main goal. When you listen, concentrate on getting information from spoken English. It is important to use materials at your level of English. For example, you can use books in Simplified English, which have an audio recording. I really recommend these books to you. They are fantastic, because you can choose a book at your level of English. When you have such a book, read the book first and then listen to the recording at home, or when you travel you can read to great books at Robinson Crusoe in levels.com or The Little Prince in levels.com. You can also visit newsinlevels.com if you like listening to the news. All these materials are in 3 levels of English. The second type of materials for listening practice are films and videos on youtube.com. These are also very good. You can start to use them when you know 2,000 words in English or more. This is what you should do with a film. Watch it for the first time with subtitle so that you know the story of the film. Then watch the film without the subtitles. If you like the film very much, you can watch it more than once. When you watch one film many times with every view, you can understand more. It is also good to watch videos on the internet about interesting subjects. For example, if you like nature, you can watch documentaries about nature. You can also watch reality shows. Reality shows are much easier to understand than films or documentaries, because the structure of the show is usually the same. It is necessary to have at least 30 minutes of listening every day. When you listen to English materials, always look at what you already understand. It can be the 10% at the beginning. It is better than 0%. Continue to listening and soon it can be 20% or 30%. Always look at what you already know. Be happy for every new sentence with you understand. Does this information help you? Yes, say students, thank you. The listening topic is very interesting for me. Now I know what to do when I want to be better at listening. When you want to be good at listening, listen for 30 minutes every day. What you need before you start. On Friday we have an interesting conversation in our class. Our teacher has a question for us. She asks, do you remember your first impulse to learn English? Do you remember the moment when you started to learn English? I say that, I remember the moment when I started to be interested in English. My teacher says, can you tell us about this moment? I say, yes. First, I have to say that English wasn't always my favorite subject. I started to learn English at high school. At the beginning, it was very difficult for me. I didn't understand the structure of the language. It was illogical for me. I tried to remember words. I tried to learn grammar, but it was very hard for me. When I finished high school, I was still only a beginner. I couldn't speak English and I believed that I couldn't learn this language. I believed that English wasn't for me. Then something happened. I always liked music, and when I was 20, I started to listen to the Beatles. I wanted to understand their songs. So I started to translate the text of their songs. Slowly I understood more and more. Then I met 2 ladies from England on the train. We had a simple conversation, but it helped me very much. I started to believe that I could learn English. From that moment, I was working on my English almost every day, and I was better and better. Then I started to go to this school. My teacher thanks me for telling my story. She also tells me, here is something very interesting about your story. First, you didn't have motivation to learn English. Then you had motivation. You want to do understand songs. You can see that motivation is very important. When you have it, you can learn English. When you don't have it, it is very hard to be successful. Then our teacher asks everybody in the class about their motivation to learn English. The stories are very interesting. One girl's motivation is to be able to read historical books in original English. One student wants to be a professional tennis coach in England. He wants to speak perfect English before he starts his career as a coach. One woman wants to work for a big international company. She needs English for her job. I can see that everybody has some motivation to use English in real life or to get information from books. At the end of the lesson, our teacher asks us if we like English. I say, I didn't like English at my high school, but now I like it a lot. I can see how useful it is to know this language. Our teacher says, this is another important factor when you learn a new language. It is good when you like something which is connected to English. It can be people, music, culture or history. If you like English, it is easier for you to learn it. If you want to communicate in English, it is good to know 3,000 words or more. If you don't like English, it is more difficult to find time to practice. Then it is difficult to get to the level of 3,000 words. I can agree with my teacher. Now, I like the Beatles, but also my teacher and my boss, who is also English. I also like English humor. Now, it is much easier for me to find time to practice English every day. On Saturday, I go to play football for my school team. We have some very good players in our team and we win 3-2. We all are very happy. When you want to learn English, you need to have motivation to use English every day. How to learn 3,000 words. The next lesson, one of the students asked our teacher this question, you say that it is good to know 3,000 words. Where can I find these 3,000 words? My teacher says, you can find a list of 3,000 most frequent use words in English on the internet. But it is difficult to learn new words from the list. These words are not connected with any story. You don't learn what other words are connected with these words in sentences. This system works only for some words. These are basic words which describe things and people around us, for example mother, father, apple, mango, blue, orange, dog, cat, book, car, house, city, boy, girl, water, cinema, or paper. These are words which represent something which you can imagine easily. For example, when you learn the word dog, you can imagine easily what it is. You have a clear idea in your head what the word means. But when you want to learn words such as decide or opinion, this system doesn't work well. This is a problem with many students. They start their studying with the list of words. It works at the beginning and they believe that they can learn English this way. They don't know that when they get to the level of 1,000 words, they have to start using a different system. If you want to learn words from higher level, you have to learn from whole sentence. If you understand the meaning of a word in the context of a sentence, you can learn the word much better. You can learn words from lists, but there is usually a limit where you can go with this way of learning, and it is 1,000 words. Also, this way of learning is very slow. There are much better ways which you already know, for example reading. For beginners, the best book to read is Robinson Crusoe, is in simple English. You can find this book at Robinson Crusoe in levels.com. It is very good book for learning new words for beginners. There is also one interesting rule which is good to know. Every word which is important for you will come back to your life again and again. This is very similar to the way which we learn our own language. When we are children, we don't study from lists of words. We only use the language and important words come into our lives again and again. We learn new words this way all our lives. For example, the word Google is a new word in many languages. We learnt this word by using the language. We didn't learn this word from any list of words. When you heard the word Google for the first time, you probably didn't know the word meant. Then you heard it again and again because the word was important for you, and after some time you understood the word. You can forget about list of words. Learn new words by reading stories and other interesting texts. When you use English a lot every day, soon you can learn 3,000 words. Does it make sense? Yes, thank you, says students. After school I got my work. I already know my work very well. Things start to be automatic. I am happy that I understand my customers. It is not very difficult because the conversations are usually very similar. Our customers want some coffee or sandwiches, so the words are usually the same or very similar. My confidence goes higher and sometimes I start to have longer conversation with our customers. It is all good, but then something happens. It is a little shocking for me. When you learn a new word, learn it as part of the whole sentence.